So it's telling me I'm live. And so today, okay, we're good. We're live and you can hear me. And so today we're studying, we're micro dumping. All right, good. So we are micro dumping the carbon cycle and the nitrogen cycle. So this is part of my 4-step method to studying microbiology. And I believe it is very important to help you retain microbiology so that you can remember it when you're taking your exams. So I'm going to allow you to see my screen. So I created a video this week, and the first video was on the carbon cycle. And in that video, we went over everything that you need to know about the carbon cycle. If you have not checked that video out, feel free to check that video out and learn about the carbon cycle. The next video I created, which was yesterday, is it's about the nitrogen cycle, and we cover ammonification and nitrification, denitrification, and nitrogen fixation. Now, for both of these videos, I have notes for you that you can easily access in a module, and the link is in the description box of both of those videos, so you can check that out. And guess what? It is free. So go ahead and click that link and get those notes for these 2 cycles. All right, let's continue on to micro mind mapping. We're dumping micro. So I will do, of course, some purple. And we're going to micro mind map the carbon cycle. So with the carbon cycle, you have to remember 6 things, and it's just amazing how this all worked out, because the element carbon has the number 6. So you're going to remember 6 things in the carbon cycle. First, we're going to start off that all organisms have carbon. So all organisms they have carbon. So we have cellulose, proteins, starches, fats, that have carbon. So number 1, we have carbon dioxide, CO2. Now CO2 is in the atmosphere all around us. So atmosphere. All right, number 2, we have photosynthetic fixation. Now, in photosynthetic fixation, we have our photosynthetic photoautotrophs. They take up the carbon dioxide that's in the atmosphere, and they use the sun, the energy of the sun, to create organic matter. So carbon dioxide in the atmosphere is number 1. Photosynthetic fixation, number 2. Number 3, we have animal respiration. So in animal respiration, the animal takes in air and releases carbon dioxide. They also can excrete, so this is poop, that's supposed to be poop, excrete carbon, as well as when they die, decompose, because carbon is in our body or in animals' bodies or in trees. When they decompose, that carbon is released. Oh, you shouldn't be smiling. So that was number 3. Number 4, we have fixation. Now in fixation, it's animal to plant. So we have our animal, which is a chemoheterotroph. These chemoheterotrophs eat the plant, or autotrophs. And that's how the animal can retrieve more carbon. So that was number 4. Number 5, we have decomposition. I kind of covered that a little bit with the animal respiration part. We have decomposition. The body or the animal, the matter decomposes to release the carbon. So let's release carbon. And then lastly, so that was number 5. And then our last one, we're going to squeeze it in here, is emissions. So from here, number 6, we have fossil fuel. And fossil fuel, such as coal and petroleum, they are burned, releasing CO2 into the atmosphere. Now, too much of CO2 is known to cause global warming. We also find carbon in rocks like limestone. So that is our carbon cycle. I know it seems like a lot, so in the next one we're going to break it down. So we have our carbon cycle. That is our main topic that we want to remember. And then we're going to change colors. Then we know that for the carbon cycle, there are 6 things that we need to know. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 things that we need to know. The first subtopic is CO2. Our second subtopic is photosynthetic fixation. Next one is animal respiration. Fixation. And let's see, decomposition and emission. And all right, so those are our 6 things that we need to know. If you can start off and just practice this a few times until you can get it, remembering that there are 6 things that you need to know and writing down those 6 things. From there, you can branch off to put extra stuff that you need to know about it. So we know that in the air, in the atmosphere, we have carbon dioxide. We know for photosynthetic fixation, it involves photosynthesis. So we're using we're using light, sunlight as energy. So we know we're using energy, sunlight. Photoautotrophs are involved. So photoautotrophs use sunlight and CO2 to give us, or to give, organic matter. With animal respiration, we know that air is breathed. So we breathe in air, and released is carbon dioxide. What else do we know? We know through decomposition that carbon is given up, and we also know it can be excreted. With fixation, it's animal to plant. So I'll just put animal to plant. Animal eats the plant to get an intake of carbon. Decomposition, the decomposed matter gives up its carbon. So carbon is released. And then emissions. We know that coal and petroleum are burned and it releases CO2. We also know that rocks can contain carbon. So carbon containing item is rocks. So that's what we have for emissions, and this is fossil fuel. All right, pretty easy. Remember your 6 things, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then go from there. Add little things from that section to help you remember the gist of the carbon cycle, or your main topic and your subtopics. So what you would do is write your main topic, go out, and then branch out further into your subtopics. So maybe I should write this down. So 1, you have your main topic. 2, you have your subtopics. And then 3, branch out with more detail. And that's pretty much it. And with these 2, I would, what would I do? I would practice with those first, and then add on the details, and then practice with the details until you can get it, understand it, and commit it to memory. So that was the carbon cycle. And then next we're going to do the nitrogen cycle, which is pretty easy. It looks complicated right here, but stick with me and we can remember the nitrogen cycle together. So we're going to do, let's do group, let's see, red. So we have our nitrogen cycle. That is our main topic. So number 1, main topic. Number 2, we need our subtopics. So with nitrogen cycle, we have 4 main topics that we will need to remember. So we have 1, 2, 3, and 4. The first one is ammonification. Our second one is nitrification. Third is denitrification. And lastly, we have nitrogen fixation. All right, those are our 4. So let's go in further with more information. So that's number 3. We're going into detail. Details. Ammonification, what is it? So we have protein to amino acids, and I abbreviate. So proteins to amino acids will give us ammonia. Ammonia is then released into the soil, so it's released. And that's ammonification in a nutshell. So ammonification, proteins are broken down into amino acids, and then we from there get ammonia, and then ammonia is released. Next we have nitrification. So with this one, we have, let's see, we have ammonia. So ammonia is then released. So we're starting with ammonia. It's released from our ammonification, and then H3, we add water because ammonia is a gas, and if it stays in its gaseous form, then it's released from the soil and disappears from the soil and goes into the air. But what we need is that it needs water to become soluble with water, so that it will allow it to stay in the soil. From there we get ammonium ions. Ammonia plus water will give us ammonium ions. Now there are microorganisms, nitrifying bacteria to be specific, that will nitrify nitrogen. So we have our first one that we're going to cover, Nitrosomonas. And then another one we're going to put down here is Nitrobacter. So with Nitrosomonas, we have a conversion, or converting nitrite to nitrate. And then with Nitrobacter, we have ammonium to nitrite. Ions. O2. And then we're going to go to denitrification. Denitrification, we have our nitrate ions. That's NO2 or NO3. And here we would want, in this process, the nitrogen gas so that it can be released back into the atmosphere, but that doesn't happen. We keep the nitrate, well, the nitrate is kept in the soil and used as an electron acceptor. And this happens when there is an increase in the water, well, in the environment. So if the soil is waterlogged, so increase in water environment. All right. YouTube is not everything. So it's giving me a notification. All right, YouTube is giving me a notification. I hope everything is still going smoothly. I hope so. If not, I'll just redo this again. So let's see, what do I have here? Denitrification. You know what? I think we're going to backtrack. So with nitrification, we have nitrosomonas. And with that one, we have, I have them switched. So we're going to erase this. I knew something was off. So with here, so we have our ammonium ion, and we have our nitrifying bacteria, and it's Nitrosomonas. That gives us nitrite. And then from nitrite here to nitrate, we have our nitrifying bacteria, Nitrobacter. And there you go. So that was a correction there. And then we have our denitrification, and then nitrogen fixation. We have our gas. So we have nitrogen in the air, our nitrogen gas, converting to ammonia, NH3. And how are microorganisms or microbes doing this? Well, they have to have nitrogenase. And that is an enzyme used to convert ammonia, the gas, nitrogen gas, to ammonia. All right, those are our 4 steps. 1, 2, 3, and 4 that you would need to know about the nitrogen cycle. So let's go over this again. We're going to go back to a red. So step number 1 is know your main topic. So it's the nitrogen cycle. If I can spell cycle, go back. Cycle, that's our main topic. Then after that, we have our subtopics. We know that there are 4 subtopics that we need to know. Ammonification, we have nitrification, nitrification. We have denitrification, and nitrogen fixation. All right, we are like halfway there. So we have our 4 topics. Now all we have to do is remember things about these 4 topics, so the details. Let's switch up, let's go back to green. So with details, we have protein to amino acid to ammonia. Ammonia is then released. And then we have our next one is nitrification. With nitrification, we have the ammonia added with water to give us ammonium ions, NH4+. Now there are nitrifying bacteria involved, so from ammonium ions to nitrite or nitrosomonas. So we have 1 nitrosomonas. That's going from ammonium ions to nitrite. And then 2, we have nitrobacter. And nitrobacter goes from our nitrite to nitrate. Then denitrification, we have our nitrate. So it's NO3, used as an electron acceptor when atmospheric oxygen is not present. All right. Our next one is nitrification, nitrogen fixation, where the nitrogen gas is converted to ammonia. With the help of nitrogenase. That's pretty quick. If you can remember, you know your main topic. Number 2, what are your subtopics that you would like to know? So subtopics. In this case, it's ammonification, nitrification, denitrification, and nitrogen fixation. And then go from there, stemming out to write your details. All right. So those are our 2. This is micro dumping. What you would do is micro mind map. You're repeating this over and over and over, practicing it so that you can commit it to memory. So right now I'm going to go to a question that's in my book. So let's do, let's go back to purple. Never fails. So we have our question. So we have 1. It's activated sludge. And I know some of these we did not go over, but if you've read your book, then you should know. Number 2, it's denitrification. Number 3, it's nitrogen fixation. And number 4, it's methane production. All right, so you have options. Let's do a different color. We have A. So the process takes place under aerobic conditions. Aerobic conditions. B. It takes place under anaerobic conditions. And C, the amount of oxygen doesn't make a difference. So what you're going to do with number 1, you're going to match it up with either A, B, or C, and the same thing with 2, 3, and 4. So we're going to break down each one. So with number 1, activated sludge system. Does the process take place under aerobic conditions, anaerobic conditions, or the amount of oxygen just doesn't matter in this situation? So with activated sludge, I know that we didn't cover it in my videos, but if you read your book, then you would get some understanding, or this question may look or familiar to you. So this process is done, let's see, where should I put it? Down, I'll do it here. So this process is done, it's done in a aerobic tank, or aerated tank. That should give you a clue. So aerated, well, we can quickly answer it, and the answer would be A. Just from knowing where the system takes place, is in an aerated tank, aeration tank. So oxygen or air, pure oxygen or air, is fed into the tank. Air or pure oxygen is fed into the tank during this process, and is passed through the effluent. And effluent is the liquid, the smooth liquid. So after the sludge goes through the process, the matter, the sludge, sinks to the bottom. Up top, we have our effluent, we have the liquid. So air is passed through that liquid, that fluid, in the aerated tank. So then number 2, we're going to move on to that one, denitrification. Now, as the process takes place in under aerobic conditions, anaerobic conditions, or the amount of oxygen in this particular process doesn't really matter. So with denitrification, as we've learned, we have NO3, that is our nitrate. It acts as an electron acceptor, so acts as an electron. I want to abbreviate. Electron acceptor. So when it acts as an electron acceptor, then what does that mean? It's taking the place of oxygen. So oxygen is not present, then it acts as an electron acceptor. If oxygen is not present, then our answer will have to be B, anaerobic conditions. So B, no oxygen. Or atmospheric oxygen is present. So no oxygen. Number 3, nitrogen fixation. So with this one, we have nitrogenase. Nitrogenase is an enzyme, nitrogenase, that's involved in converting the nitrogen gas into ammonia. Nitrogen gas into ammonia. We also need to know that nitrogenase is inactivated by oxygen. So there's inactivation by oxygen. If it's inactivated, then it cannot convert the nitrogen gas to ammonia, and that's not good. So the answer will have to be B, because we want the activation. And then C, or number 4, methane production. So we have so there is a production. Where does this production occur? Anaerobic sludge digester. So just with knowing where this production occurs can give you your answer. But we're going to go a little bit further. So in this process, methane producing bacteria degrades organic solids to soluble substances and gases like carbon dioxide and methane. So that's how you answer your questions in your textbook. So you're breaking them down, each one step by step, and you're going back into your textbook, reading that section over, and then going back and answering the questions. Why is it this answer? Why is it not that answer? And I think that is it for this study. So if you want the notes to this video and the previous videos, it will be in the description box. If I can spell description box. And what else? Don't forget to like and comment, share, and subscribe. And don't forget to hit that bell so that you will be notified of more videos that I will upload for you. All right, thanks for joining me, and I will see you guys next week.